is why it is common to all the practices. You can have a devotional type of meditation. This is recommended for most people. You can have a non-dualistic type of meditation too. And of course, while doing all your actions is a kind of meditation, so that meditation continues. We can exaggerate a bit, 24 hours of the day. A kind of mindfulness, a kind of attunement into the divine all the time. But formal meditation is required, but can only take place, as we understood from the 6th chapter, by regulating your normal waking life. That's why this meditation is only mentioned in 1 out of all the 18 chapters, and has a prerequisite. Karma Yoga is the prerequisite. Even before that, basically understanding the principle is the prerequisite. And then engaging your whole energy in your normal daily, so-called normal daily activities. That is why Arjuna is urged, please, take up your bow and go and fight. And we all have to fight. We can view it in that way, or we can take away this aspect, maybe a negative aspect of fighting, struggle and all of that, and make it a pleasant, delightful activity. A round of activities that are oriented toward offerings, flower offerings to the Lord. In this way, we combine karma and bhakti, doing all things for the Lord's service. But of course, the whole purpose, the whole idea of the yogic meditation is to reveal levels and layers of consciousness. And the yogic language for it, of course, is described in chakras. So each chakra is energized by an inward potentiality, an inward energetic movement. It has the capacity to unfold the truth, take us to a position of devolution. So what we call meditation really is reversing the evolution process. And view it as a devolution, going backwards as it were, going inward to the source, blissful base being the source. Do it progressively, step by step. And don't be in a hurry, there's no such thing as competitive meditation. Any anxiety associated with meditation is no longer meditation.
Swami, question. Can you repeat the number of years there are again in each yogi?
You want to count them?
Yeah.
It's, I'll describe very succinctly. In 4 words. A heck of a long time. Maybe it was 5.
6 actually.
6. Yeah.
No, you mentioned that before.
You
I think
see,
it was 432 million
So
by 100.
think of it like this. The easy way to remember it is the current age, estimated age of this Earth, in fact the whole solar system is 4.5 billion years. So it's calculated the whole cycle cumulatively is 4.32 billion years in human calculation. Right? You times that by 1,000. That 1,000 is 1 day of Brahma. That means one period where the whole universe now goes back into its primordial state, unmanifest state. And for the same period of time, when Brahma sleeps, comes out again for another day, and 100 such days are there. Some versions 108, but let's say 100. 100 years. 100 years of that. We're talking of unthinkable periods of time. And so I mentioned last week, or maybe the week before, Carl Sagan, who passed away, of course, and was very instrumental in propagating popular science, made a remark that this ancient Hindu system was so mind-boggling in its estimate of cosmological time. No other ancient system had this understanding. But you see, that's from the human point of view. We might even say from Brahma's point of view as well. But let's take it from the supreme position. See, the advantage of Vedanta is we have innumerable tools that we can bring out. And the story I read out illustrated it. That, by the way, it's something like a dream. And when we awaken from it, all these questions about years and periods and cycles, and it all goes away, it all becomes irrelevant. It has no meaning whatsoever. So when we ourselves wake up, then we find all this relative period of time, no matter how we calculate it, and it is a relative world. So we have to put in human calculation. We're doing so we can somehow relate to it. But it's impossible for the mind even to grasp the vastness of the entire universe. It's impossible to grasp the vastness of our solar system. It's impossible to grasp the size of Jupiter, where one small storm on the surface of Jupiter will contain possibly 4 or 5 Earths, 3 Earths. Yeah, there it is, 3 Earths in that small spot. And Jupiter is the thing that takes most of the angular momentum of the whole solar system. For that reason, many people think it's not a planet at all, it's a sun. A sun that never had enough gravity to make the fusion happen. So this vast thing, it took so many years when you think, I think it took some 32 years or something for Voyager, you may correct me, you probably know, something like 32 years for Voyager to get to the edge of the universe, the edge of the solar system, a kind of boundary which is there where the solar wind has its major impact. I think it was over 30 years it took just to arrive at that boundary, human years. And this is a small solar system in the outer suburbs of our Milky Way galaxy, where billions of stars and planets exist. And this galaxy, one of the grouping of galaxies. And that, we find something like, now the estimate used to be 100 billion galaxies in the known universe. We now say 200 billion are there in the known universe. And that's something we don't want beyond that. We're restricted by the speed of light. So when we look out and find out what is the extent, we can only go 186,000 miles per second.
It seems very unlikely that 13.8 billion is the age of the universe when you look at it that way.
Well, that's calculated on the basis of what's called a Hubble constant.
Which is the nearest star that we...
Well, it's had to be adjusted because it was observed that some stars are older than what was estimated, and you can't have that. So you have to then readjust and say, oh, we arbitrarily make another thing. But you see, there are so many problems with that. In my personal opinion, this cosmological model of Big Bang and inflation model and all that will be replaced. And already people are looking at how awkward and difficult it is. Because the possibility of inflation happening, Big Bang doesn't work without inflation. Possibility of inflation happening and the conditions for it to be there are so impossibly remote that even people who